Sometimes life changes not through miracles, but through a single thought. And sometimes the smallest moment becomes the biggest turning point of your destiny. In the heart of a crowded metro station in Boston lived a man named Caleb Turner. Every morning, with worn-out shoes and tired eyes, Caleb survived by asking passing commuters for spare change. The station was always loud, screeching trains, echoing footsteps, hurried conversations, but Caleb had learned to exist inside that noise, unnoticed and unheard. One afternoon, while sitting near platform 3, he spotted a sharply dressed businessman stepping off a train. The man's name was Richard Lawson. Everything about him looked polished. The tailored suit, the confident stride, was the calm authority of someone who knew exactly where his life was headed. Caleb thought, if anyone would help me today, it's him. Gathering courage, Caleb approached Richard with an open palm. But instead of giving money, Richard paused and asked calmly, "Tell me something. Do you always take and never give?" The question felt like a slap. Caleb blinked, confused. "Sir, I'm just a beggar. I don't have anything to offer," he replied. Richard smiled slightly, not mocking, but thoughtful. "If you believe you have nothing to give," he said, "then you also limit what you can receive. Life works through exchange. If you offer something, only then can you expect something back." Before Caleb could respond, Richard stepped onto the next train and disappeared into the crowd. Caleb stood frozen, the businessman's words echoing louder than the trains themselves. For the first time in years, the stranger had shaken something inside him, a thought he could not ignore. That night, Caleb Turner couldn't sleep. Richard Lawson's words kept circling in his mind like a train, running on endless tracks. If you believe you have nothing to give, you limit what you can receive. For years, Caleb had lived with the belief that he was empty pockets, empty hopes, empty possibilities. But now, something inside him had begun to question that emptiness. What if I do have something? What if I just never saw it? 2 days passed. Caleb didn't ask a single person for money. He sat quietly, watching people, watching life, thinking deeply, maybe for the first time in his adult life. On the third morning, while resting near the edge of the station, he noticed a small patch of wildflowers growing beside the rusty tracks. Their colors were bright, almost glowing against the gray surroundings. He stared at them for a long moment. And then, an idea sparked. A small one, yet powerful enough to shift his entire world. What if I stop just taking? What if I give something back? Even something small? With gentle hands, Caleb plucked a few flowers, careful not to harm the rest. He stood at his usual spot again, waiting nervously. A woman walked by and dropped a coin into his cup. For the first time ever, Caleb smiled, a real, warm smile, and offered her a flower in return. She paused, surprised, then smiled back. "Thank you," she said softly. Those simple words felt like sunlight to Caleb. As the hours passed, he repeated the same act. Give a flower. Receive a coin. And slowly, something incredible began to happen. People started approaching him with kindness, curiosity, even gratitude. For the first time in his life, Caleb wasn't just being noticed. He was being appreciated. Days turned into weeks, and something extraordinary unfolded before Caleb's eyes. The more flowers he offered, the more generously people responded. As he handed out each blossom, he noticed a simple truth: people valued what he gave, even if it was small. But there was something even more surprising. Whenever his flowers ran out, the donations dropped immediately. Caleb realized, it's not pity they're giving me. It's an exchange. I give, they give. That's the rule Richard talked about. One afternoon, while Caleb was arranging the flowers he had collected, a familiar figure appeared at the station. Stepping off the train, confident as always, was Richard Lawson. The same man whose words had unknowingly rewritten Caleb's destiny. Caleb's heart pounded. With excitement and pride, he rushed toward Richard. "Sir," he called out, "today, I have something to give you." Richard raised an eyebrow, pleasantly surprised. Caleb extended a small bouquet of wildflowers. "If you give me something, I'll give these in return." said with a confident smile. Richard chuckled warmly and placed a few bills into Caleb's hand. "You've understood it," Richard said. "You're no longer a taker. You're a giver. And that makes you a businessman." As the train doors opened, Richard stepped inside, leaving Caleb with a sentence that would stay with him forever. Caleb stood there, thinking deeply. A businessman? Him? The thought felt unbelievable. Yet as he looked at the flowers in his hands, something clicked in his heart. He whispered to himself, "I'm not a beggar anymore. I'm a trader. People aren't giving me money out of charity. They're buying what I offer." That moment changed everything. For the first time in his life, Caleb saw himself not as a burden, but as someone capable of building something, and that new identity lit a fire inside him that night. Caleb Turner walked out of the Boston station with a new fire inside his chest. For the first time in years, he wasn't walking away as a beggar. He was walking away as a man who had discovered his worth. The next morning, he made a decision that would change the rest of his life. He left the station behind, not as a man escaping his past, but as someone stepping into a new chapter. Caleb used the small money he had saved to buy more flowers, learning which ones sold best, which colors attracted people, and how to arrange them beautifully. Days turned into months. And soon, Caleb wasn't just selling flowers, he was running a small roadside stand, then a larger one, then two more. The man who once begged for coins was now supplying flowers to cafes, weddings, and local events. 6 months later, fate reunited him with Richard Lawson once again. At the same Boston station where their story began, the two men shook hands. Richard squinted at Caleb for a moment and said, "Do I know you?" Caleb smiled. "Yes. You met me twice? Once when you refused me, and once when you bought flowers from me." Recognition lit Richard's face. "You were the beggar?" Caleb nodded proudly. "Not anymore. I run a flower business now. I'm traveling to expand it." Richard was stunned. "That's remarkable, Caleb. What changed you?" Caleb looked into the distance and replied softly, "You did. You taught me that we receive only when we give. That day, I realized I wasn't a beggar. I just didn't see the businessman within me." The two men shook hands, not as strangers, but as equals. Life teaches us a simple truth. Your identity shapes your destiny. When you believe in your potential, the world begins to believe in you too. Asterisk, asterisk, some lessons aren't found in books. They're hidden in moments just like this one. Carry this thought with you. And if you felt something in this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. It not only helps me stay motivated, but also spreads more stories that touch hearts and teach lessons.